we now have achieved 87.7% convergence on rules of origin, which is the heart of being able to trade in a free trade area. And so we've made significant progress in identifying the products that should be traded on preferential terms across the African continent. We recently, last month, we launched the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, which will enable and boost intra-Africa trade, will make trade in Africa more affordable, more accessible, and of course will make trade in Africa more efficient. This month, we are launching the ACFTA Adjustment Fund. We have mobilized over $1 billion with Afrexim Bank. Our objective is that in 10 years' time, we mobilize between $7 and $8 billion to enable countries to implement this agreement effectively. We know that as you reduce and eliminate tariffs, fiscal space becomes much narrower. So we want to offset that adjustment cost.
The COVID-19 pandemic has been a challenge for so many sectors, including the progress of the intra-Africa trade. But experts like you have said that it has also presented fresh opportunities.
I think the pandemic is, of course, a public health crisis. People have died. But it is an opportunity in a number of areas. First, in the area of intellectual property rights, we now have an opportunity to fundamentally reform Africa's intellectual property rights to ensure that whatever intellectual property rights commitments that we make to one another, that they are at the service of Africa's public health, first. And we need to make sure that we use intellectual property rights to enable the production of generic drugs in Africa and to enable vaccine manufacturing in Africa. Second, Africa's industrialization objectives. If we can reduce the $16 billion worth of pharmaceutical products that we import annually, we are able to do so by establishing our own generic drug industry to reduce those imports, and that contributes to Africa's industrialization and value-added productive capacity. So it is an opportunity if you look at it from that perspective. It's also an opportunity because many countries in Africa do not have the fiscal policy space, the monetary policy space for large bailouts for economic recovery. And so aggressive implementation of the ACFTA, in my view, is Africa's recovery. That's where we will see the recovery that we need through accelerated implementation of the ACFTA.
This year, the African Union will be focusing on building resilience as far as nutrition is concerned. What role can the African Continental Free Trade Area play in assisting the continent to achieve this?
Food security is critical. We import we're a net food importer, and yet we have over 60% arable land. So the ACFTA positions the continent to ensure that our subsistence farmers become part of a value chain for trading across the continent. We've seen this in other parts of the world. It can be done to ensure that we have food security, to ensure that we have the food nutritions that are required across the African continent. So I think it is, in the long term, it is an opportunity for us to boost our intra-Africa food security challenge that we have had for some time now, so that we stop being a net food importer when we are so rich in terms of our agricultural products.